Hey, what's going on, guys? Out here in the shop today. I haven't really got a whole lot done that I wanted to get done. That was explained in the last video. It's just been really too hot outside for me, and the heat really zaps me right now because, like I said, I'm still recovering. And so I started changed gears a little bit. I went ahead and started test fitting the steering column and the dash back in this thing. It is an aftermarket steering column, and it's kind of hard to pick one up that's technically for a Studebaker where I need it, because the Studebaker column and the steering shaft that goes up through there, the steering shaft mounts to the steering box itself on the old setup. So what I ended up doing was getting a aftermarket Chevrolet steering shaft, which is basically universal. There's no key. I'm going to still use the key in the dash area. It's going to have blinkers, tilt. And so I started mocking things up on that. So at the moment I've got it set in place. I was able to use the factory bracket from the Studebaker. I'm just going to have to weld a shim up in here to take up the play. Instead of using this aftermarket bracket here, because this will actually bring the column down lower, and I don't want that. I kind of want it to sit like it was with the other column, and it looks like it's going to do the trick. I got to add a little bit to that to make it work correctly, but I think it's going to work pretty good. So you can have your blinker, your tilt. I still got to get a steering wheel for it, but it kind of gives me a general idea where it's going to sit at, and it looks about perfect. The dash, I stripped all that crap off of there, 60 years worth of foam, and then the majority of the dash contours was from the foam. So here's the bare dash, and now I got the glove box out, so it's flat there, and I want to reuse this frame, but now I'm gonna have to add some metal to it, bring the contours back and stuff like that, and get to work. I want to blend this part of the frame down to the trans tunnel and close that all in. But yeah, a lot of foam, and I'll show you here in a second what I was talking about. So here's the glove box portion of the dash, and I mean, all this is this foam. And lift it up, and this is what made the contour of the dash. And here's a piece here that was around the radio area. I mean, just nothing but thick foam. So all that's going away. And I want to use the original trim, put back. So this is going to get clean, sanded, repainted. We can go back into the dash. I still got the look of the Studebaker dash, but it's just going to be a little different. Now the instrument cluster is a different thing. I've got to use this back piece because this bolts into the dash frame, but all this has got to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all these gauges out, and I'm going to come back through. I'm going to cut the center section out. And then what's going to happen once I do all that, because we're not using any of this, and I'm going to come back with a thin piece of aluminum to actually cover over this, break it at the same line point here, but that'll cover all this up. And now I can start fresh with the new gauges, light switch, ignition switch, and stuff like that. Now on here, they have the heater control stuff on the dash. And what I'm going to do is they make an aftermarket heater core kit. It's all in one. It's self-containing, and it'll fit underneath the passenger side of the dash. Comes with its own set of controllers. So probably what's going to happen is, in this space in here that I'm going to bring to the trans tunnel, that's where the controllers are going to be at for the defrost and the heat. Now back to mocking up the steering column. Here in the front, I still haven't got the engine pulled out yet, but it kind of gives you an idea. I got it about centered out where I want to be at. I'm going to have to peel all this in, recut a hole, put the flange in, And right now, I kind of test fit the steering rod going to the rack. And right now it's 2 knuckles. But I want to make sure that this is going to clear my headers once my headers get back. So this is just mock-up. So once I get the other engine in, get the headers in, and we'll see if it all fits. If it doesn't, it came with an extra knuckle and a joint that I can put here to bring up so I can move this anywhere I want to a certain point and then come back out up to here. So we'll see what happens with that. For today, I'm gonna go ahead and finish gutting out the instrument cluster, get all that out of the way. And that way I can cut the center section out and put this back on the dash. And that way I can start getting measurements on how I want to form the metal around it, get everything to work, and we'll pull the dash back out down the road and start tacking all the metal in place, get it nice and shaped right, and then finish it up and put a nice cover over it, and hopefully it'll look good. So let's get started on tearing the instrument cluster apart and kind of go from there. Now that I've got all the gauges and stuff out, this is actually molded in with the dash, so I'm going to have to cut that off even there on both sides, but I'll probably do that at work. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this section out, get it remounted to the bezel, and put it back in the car and see how all this is going to line up where the steering shaft and stuff is at. There, now we got the center section cut out, so let me get the bezel back on it and we'll get it back on the dash. Now that I got the bezel and everything mocked up where it's going to be at, you can see where all the dead space is, and all that was done in that foam. So there was really not a whole lot of forming with the metal and stuff. All that was with the dash pad. Now the steering column's going to fit well. Got enough space back here, so that fits down like it should. So there's not going to be interference with that. But like I said, all this is going to, I want to reform, like come up from here to here, down the sides, mold all that in. And I'm going to be doing it with metal and just get it kind of looking a little bit like the old dash, but yet not at the same time. I'm gonna have my own twist on it. But being able to reuse some of these parts is definitely a plus. But like here where the stereo piece is at, you know, I'm gonna come down through here, blend all that in. And then once I get the glove box in place, back in place after stripping it down. So it's going to be a little bit of metal working on, a little bit of fab work going on, but I believe the end result's going to look good. And like I said, I'm going to come from here down to the trans tunnel. So a lot of work, but I think it'll be worth it. You know, but just knocking it out a little at a time. It's like I need Ethan's help to get rear end and stuff out, so I'm gonna wait for him on that. And like I said, we still gotta get the motor and trans out of this thing so we can finish up some welding. I want to go ahead and try to get the new lower A-arms installed too while all this is out. So it's going to be a lot of welding, cleaning up, prepping, and but a little at a time. Progress is progress. And other than that, it's starting to get hot out here, so I'm going to go inside and go rest for a little bit. But I appreciate y'all watching, and once again, y'all guys rock. I appreciate all the comments, and I'll see you down the road.